Good afternoon, or good evening, should I say. Wouldn't be Mark Vogan without screwing up my first line. It is 7:30, or just gone 25 to 8 in the evening. What date are we on? We are on the 10th, Sunday the 10th of November. A very warm welcome to the 116th edition of the Global Weather and Climate Report, live from Mark Vogan Weather HQ here in Evanton, Rossshire, just north of Inverness. I hope everybody is well this fine Sunday evening. The sun is obviously long set. The temperatures are kind of cooling down as well, and it looks as if we are going to see a cold spell towards the end of this week. How cold will it get remains to be seen. I've not really been talking an awful lot about numbers, where is going to see snow, etc., etc., because there is no point in doing that. The models go back and forward. There is no accuracy in the models this far out when you're talking, a good week in advance. But it has been long mentioned here on the channel that we expect to see a colder spell during the second half of November, and that looks to be the case. We have 25 concurrent viewers at the moment. Paul James was the first person tuning in this evening. A good afternoon, or good evening, should I say, to Paul. I'll get there in the end. I'm not used to these 7:30 p.m. lives, and this will be the first, I think, of 3 7:30 p.m. live streams, with the final one Sunday 24th of November right here at this time. I'll be releasing the 2024-25 winter forecast. We shall wait and see how that goes. But we've also got Adam Blunston, we've got Elif, Kyle Baker, Paul James, like I've said, son of Iberia. We'll have Lindsay tuning in from work in Dingwall. Get back to work, Lindsay. Thanks very much for tuning in. I do appreciate that. We've also got Sing Splint as well tuning in. We've got, who else have we got? Joyce Vogan down in Kirkintilloch tuning in as well. Good evening to you, Mum. Hope you have had a good weekend so far, and you're keeping well. Both of you, I think both of them have been, Mum and Dad have both not been 100% over the last little while or so. So I hope you are doing okay anyway down there in sunny Kirkintilloch, just outside Glasgow. So, what is everybody saying? We've got Adam saying, yes, I'm ready. I think it's been more likely to see really cool weather this weekend, the next week. Hello from Denmark, says Elif, I think that is hopefully the right pronunciation. Who else have we got? So Lindsay saying, at work, so can't stay tuned in. Hope everybody enjoys tonight's content. Don't forget to smash the like button. And thanks very much for that, Lindsay. We've got a full team, with exceptions of one. Lisa is out. Aurora chasing this evening. But we've got Paul James, we've got Sing Splint, and briefly we've had Lindsay tuning in as well. So a massive thank you to the Spanners for your work. I do greatly appreciate it. Keeping an eye on the content, making sure that everybody is behaving themselves, but also enjoying the content as well. So, as always, you know the script. Be sure to hit that like button. Let myself, YouTube, know that you're enjoying the content here on the channel. Lots of interesting weather coming up over the next week or so. We will look at some of those details with regards to the potential for cold. It has been said since a way back during the second half of October that with the MGO moving into the phases of 7 and 8, I would expect to see the high that's been so persistent over the west of Europe. I did expect that to eventually move both westwards but also northwest up towards Greenland. Looks as if that's going to be the case moving towards next weekend, and we will have increased chance of snow but also colder conditions as well. And I do also expect to see, without putting a dampener on it, if you like cool weather that is, I do expect to see a moderation and a return to more westerly flow as we move into the month of December. So I do think we are going to moderate once again. But we've also got Richard Trott tuning in as well. Good evening to you, Richard. We were having a little chat on Messenger not that long ago. So it's good to see you tuning in. I do greatly appreciate that, and I hope you're enjoying your evening, Rich. We've also got Luke Bowers, Bowers, or if that's the right pronunciation, tuning in as well. Evening, Mark. Just come over from Gav. Interesting data. At present, the longer range looks a bit of a write-off, though, as usual. We're going to have a look at that and see what takes place. We've also got Chris Clifford tuning in. Good evening to you, Chris. David Vogan. Sorry, Mark, watching football, but cold night tonight, says David. Obviously, he's getting his priorities right by watching the football as opposed to me. Probably better watching the football than listening to me waffle on, I would imagine. Also, Nothing As It Seems is tuning in as well. Good evening to you. I'm about 25 east of Inverness, California. Probably a little bit warmer where you are than it is here this evening. I think the current temperature is around about 7 Celsius. Pressure is once again rebuilding as well. So we've got higher pressure, but we've got cleaner air moving in. So we should see more in the way of sunshine. There are still parts of England through the first 9 days of November that had 0 hours of sunshine, which is pretty remarkable stuff, actually. But it has been rather dry as well, right enough. And it looks as if we're going to see more in the way of moisture coming up as well. Also, Gavin Partridge tuning in. Good evening to you, Gavin. I obviously was tuning into your live for a period of time a little earlier. Hope the rest of your live went well. I had to tune out, unfortunately, and try and get a couple of things done before going live myself. Then the missus comes back from work. She's due finish about 9:30, so I'll get the dinner put on for her coming home, all being well. So what else have we got here? So Richard says, you should see the white stuff first if those charts verify. Yeah, certainly over the higher parts of the A9, I would fully expect to see snow during the back half of this week, especially over the Drummochtar Summit. Also, the Slough Summit, general higher elevation areas, you get a pretty good shot at seeing some snow, especially when colder air is moving southwards. Turbo Stream also said, did anyone else have that 100% humidity on Thursday? It was a wet all day, but wasn't raining. Not sure. I've seen that before. Certainly when you've got that saturated air mass, it feels very damp. You've got that kind of fine, drizzly air. But yet, 700 metres above your head, it was completely clear skies and also very, very dry air. It was also Aidan McGivern of the Met Office that was discussing that back on Tuesday's deep dive, the Met Office deep dive, which I thoroughly enjoy, and I'm sure many of you enjoy watching the Met Office deep dive on a Tuesday. He went into quite a bit of detail with regards to the Fern effect, the fact that we've got such strong high pressure in place at the moment, but we've got a layer of cloud trapped beneath that high, and with no wind, you tend to find that is a very stagnant air mass that just does not want to shift around at all. And yet we will start to see changes taking place, thankfully, as we go through the next several days or so. So we've also got another person tuning in, Heelwyn Archer, probably butchering that pronunciation, but a very good evening to you. Where are you tuning in from? I'd be curious to know where you're watching from this evening. So as always, be sure to hit that like button. And have you subscribed to the channel yet? I would greatly appreciate a subscription. It also gives me more reason to produce content 7 days a week. So obviously Monday to Friday, I do the European Outlook, looking specifically UK, Ireland and Europe. Then we'll move on to the tropics during the course of every Saturday. But that will start to shut down shortly, as well as we move towards the end of the official hurricane season, which runs from the 1st of June to the 30th of November. So we're quickly approaching the end of the 2024 Atlantic hurricane season. Second most costliest season on record. I believe it's just shy of $190 billion worth of damage has been caused this hurricane season. And I think it's second only to 2017. Believe it or not, that was even worse. So in terms of cost anyway and damage produced, we've also got Ian Burks tune in. Ian says, good evening, Mark. Hope you are well. Saw the sun for the first time in 9 days in Derbyshire. Pretty unbelievable stuff, actually. Yet up here in the north, we have been graced with some sunshine. One of the few places in the UK that has actually enjoyed sunshine in the last couple of weeks or so. But we should start to see more sunshine becoming a little bit more widespread over the next little while or so. We've got 38 concurrent viewers at the moment here, so be sure to hit that like button, and it lets YouTube know that you're enjoying the content. It helps spread the content through the platform. So anyway, let's look at the current month to date. So this is through Sunday the 10th of November. This is the current month to date temperature anomaly. So obviously this is the global weather and climate report live. So we're looking at the bigger picture, but we will talk a little bit about the UK and Ireland's snow prospects as we go through the course of the next week to 10 days. And we'll look at other aspects as well. Major snowfall across the western half of the United States. We've seen upwards of nearly 60 inches of snowfall in parts of the high elevations of the western US in recent days. We'll look at that. We've also seen the first snowfall of the season on Mount Fuji. That is a record late date for first snow at that particular location in its record. So he's actually tuning in from Wrexham in North Wales. So yeah, what has the weather been like down there? Has it been as grey as the majority of the UK, or have you managed to get any sunshine? I'd be curious to know. Turbo Stream says the sun always shines in Scotland except when I'm there. Yeah, it's just your Donald Duck, I'm afraid. Whether you get the sunshine or not, you could come up here and it could be chucking it down the rain day in and day out, or it could be gloriously sunny like the north has been in recent days. But anyway, let's look at the first 9 to 10 days of November. You can see here quite a large area of Africa. Let's zoom in quickly on Africa. That's quite standout-ish. Through the first 9 days, this has been the look in terms of the temperature anomalies. So across the Canaries, we're seeing record-breaking warmth. We'll look at that as well. Morocco, also, I believe that's Mali, I think. And then up towards Algeria, Tunisia, warmer than average. But then once you get into Libya, Egypt, and points down towards the sub-Saharan region, firmly below average, actually. Parts of the Middle East below average. Turkey also below average. Zooming back out to the global view, you can see here large areas of Central and Southeastern Europe through the first 9-10 days of November have been below average. Most of Eurasia has actually been warmer than average. Here, we've seen the first minus 40s in parts of Russia in the last few days. We've seen a couple of minus 50s on the central Greenland ice cap back over the last couple of weeks as well. Slightly warmer than average up across Greenland here, with the exceptions of northern interior, slightly below. Then warmer than average once again once you get up into the Arctic itself. Much of Canada warmer than average. The United States very much split between a cold west versus warm east. Let's look at the US in detail, and you can see here this is how it's looking through the first 10 days. So very cold compared to average down across New Mexico up into Colorado. We've got Utah, New Mexico, Arizona, Nevada, California, Oregon, eastern areas of Washington State, Idaho, southwestern Montana, Wyoming, all below average through the first 10 days of the month. But we've also got very warmer compared to average temperatures in the eastern United States. I think temperatures as high as 27 Celsius in Syracuse, New York, in the last few days. They're around about the time the election took place. I'm not going to mention anything about that. But yeah, we've also got Katrine tuning in. Good evening to you, Katrine. Hope you are well and enjoying your weekend. Lovely to see you on the live chat this evening. So let's have a look at Asia in particular. So you can see here quite a warm anomaly up across northern portions of Russia at the moment, which is quite interesting. Both Kazakhstan, or certainly eastern Kazakhstan, Mongolia, much of China, with the exceptions of the southwest, warmer than average. Then once you get into the north of India, Central Asian countries, all the stands, generally warmer than average at the moment here. And then looking at Canada in particular, again, largely warmer than average. Moving down into the southern hemisphere, let's have a look and see what it is showing here. So we've got a mix of warm and cold anomalies across Antarctica. Let's have a look at South America here, and generally warmer than average with the exceptions of central Brazil. This swathe here, which has seen wetter than average conditions in recent times, tend to find in La Nina years you've got a drier north, drier far south of Brazil, and a swathe of wet conditions, generally anywhere really from just to the north of Rio de Janeiro up through Mato Grosso, slightly below average across northern Argentina. Then as you get down towards southern Argentina and Chile, you've got slightly below average conditions here through the first 10 days of the month. Let's look at Europe. No surprise, UK and Ireland is actually, believe it or not, warmer than average. The reason why I say that is because there's parts of the south of the UK that has actually been saying what's all the fuss about with regards to this warmer than average temperatures. Temperatures have generally been milder at night because of that blanket of cloud. It's been reasonably cool during the daytime, but also milder during the overnight period with a lack of radiational release. Due to that blanket of cloud cover above, you can't allow the radiational cooling to take place as efficiently when you've got a layer of cloud above. But we should, with clear skies, light winds underneath a renewed area of high pressure, we should start to see a bit of diurnal fluctuation, mild by day, colder by night, with frost becoming a little bit more widespread, I think, as we progress through the course of the week. Notice the low countries here into Germany, Poland, down into the southeast of Europe here, firmly below average through the first 10 days of the month. Scandinavia, warmer than average, and then the majority of France away from the far north and northeast is generally warmer than average. Down across Spain, Portugal, Sardinia and Sicily, warmer than average. A good part of central and eastern Italy has been slightly below average, as you can see here. Quite cold compared to average. Balkans, Greece, Turkey, into Georgia and Azerbaijan as well, below average through the first 10 days of this month. But anyway, I want to actually show you, this is the current snow cover across the planet at the moment. So we are pretty much white now across the north of North America, including Alaska. We're starting to see a little bit more in the way of snow cover across parts of Scandinavia. The majority of Russia is now covered in snow. Let's have another look. Notice here that the majority of Europe is actually void of snow, with the exceptions of the highest elevations of the Alps. But the Western Europe is generally void of any snow. This is a better view of it, actually, looking down over the pole. So you can see here quite a large expanse of snow. As you would expect now, we're deeper into the month of November, and this is generally when you've got that expansive snow cover. You're increasing that cooling at the surface as well. So hence why we're seeing temperatures now into the minus 30s and 40s over that widespread Siberian snow pack. Looking at the prospects going forward of the GFS model here, you can see this is what the model currently sees in terms of snow cover. If I can get back to the right chart, did I just wipe that off? I might have actually just clicked that off. Bear with a second here, everybody. Since it's live, there is no room for for error. You know, there will be, and you know that's the beauty about live streams. There is times that you can muck up, but bear with just a second here. I want to get back to the snow depth chart. So you can see here, this is the current look seen by the GFS. By the time we reach the end of this month, so this is Monday the 25th, notice we're starting to increase that snow cover even more into Europe in particular. So let's look at Europe specifically and see what it's showing here real quick, because this is rather interesting. So little to none at the moment. Let's play through the animation here and start to see the snow cover becoming a little bit more expansive, especially once you get to the 15th, 16th of the month. So this is next weekend. Look at this over the UK and Ireland. Obviously the modelling is going to go back and forth. Don't take this literal, obviously, but that's quite interesting. And then by the time we reach the following weekend, winter forecast released around about this time. Do we have that snow over the north of the UK when I release the winter forecast 2 weeks tonight? it'll be interesting to see that. Actually, I'm quite looking forward to that. We've got 54 concurrent viewers at the moment here, so be sure to hit that like button. Also, leave a comment. Have you dropped a comment yet? It would be good to see you, and I'll give you a shout out. We've got Lee B tuning in as well. Very good evening to you. Hope you're well. Who else have we got? Have I missed anybody? Don't think I have. But yeah, this is the snow projected by the GFS. I'm not wanting to hone in too much on individual operational runs. We know what they're like. One model will give you snow. The next model says there is no snow. Looking at the trends, looking at the ensembles, that gives you a better handle on an overall trend. We know we're shifting towards colder. The details in terms of how cold, where's going to see snow versus not, that is going to still remain open to question as we progress through. Some of the finer details, exactly the flow, how much moisture is involved, areas of low pressure, their proximity, etc., will all be determining where the details come in with regards to what kind of cold we are talking about. But certainly the GFS operational, this is the current run, indicating that we will build a reasonable snow cover across northern UK as we progress through the next 10 days or so. Let's look at the UK specifically and see what it's indicating here. So play through the loop. Again, this is all very much subject to change, but that is the GFS interpretation. Even the Central Belt seeing some reasonable snow, parts of Wales. So Wrexham area may see some snow moving into the Birmingham area, and then down towards East Anglia, also indicating a little bit on the snowy side here. Possibly Exmoor and Dartmoor. We've got parts of the Republic, parts of Northern Ireland as well, in seeing snow according to the GFS model. So again, let's not get too carried away. Let's have a very quick look. Let's zoom out and look at the 850 temperatures here. So what kind of air mass are we talking about as we go through the next wee while or so here? So we're building the high once again over the British Isles. We've got relatively cooler in place, so clear skies, light winds. We could see some fairly cold nights, some hard enough frosts, I think, away from urban centres, I would imagine. Notice here as we play through, we've got a slice of milder air running around the western side, so it's pulling warmer air from the Azores up around the western side of the high. We've got an area of low pressure over the open Atlantic. So the combination of the high over the UK, that low over the central North Atlantic, that is going to be driving some fairly warmer 850 up to the east of Iceland here. And then as we go through to the middle portions of the week, notice here that high, probably close to 1040 millibars, moving slightly to the west of the British Isles here. That may try and drag in something a little bit colder in that on that 850 level, going through towards the middle portions of this week. And then as we move towards the next weekend, we've got this tongue of colder air getting driven south here. So the coldest 850 temperatures that we've seen in quite some time is expected to move southwards. And again, the modelling is going to change in terms of the details. The finer tuned details will be all open to question. But we've got high pressure building over the North Atlantic. We've got an area of low pressure over southern Sweden. And then we've got that run of rather cold air moving southwards. So this is Thursday the 21st of November here. But the general flavour is that the NAO is going to go negative. We have got the colder air getting driven south. The question mark is how long is this going to stick around? You know, by the time we get out to Wednesday the 22nd, we've got quite a large coverage of cold air now starting to show up here, which is quite interesting. It looks as if, according to this run of the model anyway, it becomes less marginal in terms of snow. How often do we see we're right on that boundary between cold and mild? And the difference is what side of that boundary do you sit on? Do you sit on the mild side? Do you sit on the cold side? Feels as if quite often at the moment we tend to see these cold runs, and then as we get closer to the actual time frame, then it turns milder. And that's something that we have to remember as well, that nothing is given, nothing is set in stone, especially in the UK where we're right on that cusp. We're a small island, surrounded by relatively warm waters. We don't live in the centre of a continent, so therefore getting those margins just bang on is very, very difficult to say. But we've got 56 concurrent viewers at the moment here. So a big stream this evening. A massive thank you to everybody for taking the time out of their Sunday evening to tune in. This is the first of 3 7:30 p.m. live streams, and the final live stream on the 24th of November will be the official release of the 2024-25 winter forecast, and I'm really looking forward to releasing that forecast. I'm still working on the written aspect of it, and then we'll discuss it here in quite a bit of detail 2 weeks from tonight. So we've also got Hebridean tuning in as well. Good evening to you, Hebridean. Most of the cold heavyweights winters started after December 62, 63 and 78, 79. That is very true. Again, I'm not going to go into too much detail with regards to my thinking in terms of the winter forecast, but we will be looking a little bit at that, chatting a little bit about winter and the prospects as we go into the month of December in the upcoming European outlooks this working week. So it looks as if we are going to see a taste of winter coming up in the not so distant future. But speaking of winter, this was the scene in Colorado back just a few days ago. This is from Weather Chasing on YouTube. So blizzard conditions, very nasty conditions as well, seen in Colorado. We had as much as 54 inches of snow falling. The biggest November snow. Look at these drifts here, burying cars. Whiteout conditions, very severe conditions at that. And I believe truck drivers that have been going over the mountain passes, if you don't have chains, you get fined. I believe there was one driver that got a $1,000 fine for not having chains as he crossed over the higher terrain of Colorado here. I think that there was a significant dumping of snow even in the Denver metro area, but higher up into the Rockies, we've seen incredible snow scenes. So look at this here, incredible stuff. This is not completely out of the ordinary, especially for the month of November. I think what has been a little bit more notable about this event in particular was the fact that this is the first major snow of the season, and it was a biggie in terms of amount of snow. So let me just quickly click off that. Let me just see here in terms of snow totals. So look at this scene here. This is from Cody Wilson, measuring 42 inches on my parents' back deck in Trinidad, Colorado this morning. Beautiful picture of the snow in many areas of the state. So this is the snow totals. So we've had as much as just shy of 55 inches of snow in San Isabel, Colorado. Several other places have seen in excess of 30 to 40 inches of snow. So these are snow totals between the 5th and the 9th of November. And it's not just Colorado. We've seen significant amounts of snow in parts of high elevation New Mexico, also Wyoming and other parts, even high elevations of Arizona as well. Lee B has very kindly donated $1.99, so a massive thank you to Lee for that. It is very, very generous of you, my friend, and thank you very much indeed. So let me see here what else is cooking. So obviously I made mention of the snow in Colorado. We also have seen the first measurable snow on Mount Fuji in Japan. Now this is the latest that we've seen snow so far into the autumn season in Japan. Quite often they hold on to snow cover year round, but this year the snow disappeared. We've seen record-breaking temperatures week in, week out, month in, month out. Mount Fuji, this is from Spoon and Tamago, saying that Mount Fuji got its first snow or dusting of snow today. The latest ever on record, first snow to settle on a mountain usually occurs in October, with the previous record for the latest being back on the 26th of October. So beautiful Mount Fuji. I've had the pleasure of getting to see that for myself back. It was actually this time last year that Lindsay and I visited Japan. We went to the area around Mount Fuji, and it really was a spectacular place to see. So let me see here what else is going on at the moment. This is Thierry Goose, based in Vancouver, Canada's Twitter page. Also a great resource in terms of global weather extremes. We've been seeing plenty of record heat in some parts of the world, including down in Pakistan and Iran. We've seen temperatures into the 40s, which bear in mind we are now in November, and it does actually get cool at this time of the year. It should be getting cool in the Middle East at this time. So this is back on the 6th of November. Temperatures as high as 40.1 Celsius. If the station is reliable, this would be the first 40 ever recorded in November in the UAE, and therefore a new November national record. So let me just continue to see here. Some parts of eastern Canada, for example, Nova Scotia, seeing temperatures as high as the mid-20s in recent times. So this is the tweet I wanted to show you here with regards to Mount Fuji's first snow. It was back on the 7th of November. Latest first snow in 130 years. The average date for the first snow is actually the 2nd of October. Previous latest on record was the 26th of October. So that's quite a bit later than the previous record set back in 1955 and 2016. The average temperature at the summit in October is -2, but this year it was 1.6 degrees Celsius, the highest on record for Mount Fuji. So yeah, we've still got over 50 concurrent viewers at the moment. Please hit that like button. It is greatly appreciated. Let's continue to crack on. We've obviously had some very mild temperatures in parts of the UK, believe it or not, where the sun has peaked out. Dublin, for example, Phoenix Park and Finner Camp recorded a temperature as high as 19.1. Here at Mark Vogan Weather HQ, last November's highest was 13.5. Back a few days ago, I recorded 17.7 Celsius. Still to hit 0 Celsius yet. I think there was 4 or 5 sub-freezing temperatures by this stage last year, but it's getting pretty darn late. The temperature dropped to 0.7 this morning, but it is yet to hit 0. So I've not recorded an air frost here at the house. I would expect that to change in the coming days. But certainly, recent temperatures have been unusually warm in some places. I believe there was an 18.9 Celsius recorded on the Murray Coast in recent days. Remember that flooding in Spain back a couple of weeks ago? These are new Spanish records, by the way, that was set with that Valencia rainstorm. So in terms of a 20-minute rainfall, we've seen a new record of 80.2 millimetres falling within the space of 20 minutes, which is pretty bonkers, really, isn't it? Then the record for a 1-hour rainfall of 184.6 millimetres of rainfall within a 60-minute period. And then multiple records for anywhere from 1 hour to as much as 18 hours. All new records for these time frames and new national Spanish records in terms of rainfall. So thought that was quite interesting actually to show you as well with regards to that Valencia rainfall disaster that we've seen. Moving on, let's have a look and see what else we're looking at here. So the first -40s, first -30s in parts of Canada back on the 9th. I think that has actually changed even in the last couple of days. Continue to crack on. We've got unusually mild conditions. We've seen temperatures as high as 11.1 Celsius in Lapland in Finland back a few days ago, and I believe this was a record for this time of the year. Imagine 11 Celsius way north of the Arctic Circle in the month of November. But like I've said before, what's going to happen is this transfer of milder up into the higher latitudes is going to probably help bring the colder air south. As you transfer that warmer up into the Arctic region, that then builds the pressure within the Arctic. We see the Arctic oscillation going from positive to negative, and then we start to see that cold getting released back south once again. We've got Mike also tuning in. I can see the moon, clear skies, not seen it for weeks, says Mike. Thanks very much for tuning in, and enjoy the clear skies and that view of the moon. So yeah, let me see here. So these are new updated lowest temperatures of the season. So we've now seen temperatures as low as minus 43.3 Celsius. Here we've also seen minus 37.3 in Eureka in Nunavut territory of Canada. And then let me see here what else. So like I said, record-breaking warm temperatures in parts of the Canaries. My stepson and his girlfriend are in Tenerife at the moment. Hopefully they're enjoying their time there. But yeah, Madeira, following on from the Canaries, temperatures as high as 30.8 Celsius in Ponta do Sol yesterday. This could be the highest temperature ever recorded in the archipelago in the month of November. And Funchal recording 30 Celsius, already beaten today the hourly record of 30.4 Celsius. So these are tweets that are pretty much just been released in the last several hours or so. But the temperatures in the Canaries was actually pretty warm as well. I think temperatures as high as 37 in Gran Canaria, for example, was recorded. Here we go here. 37.1 was recorded in Gran Canaria yesterday. A new November record for all of the Canary Islands, breaking the previous record by almost a full degree. Fifth consecutive day over 34, 35 in Morocco, like in Agadir, where I happened to be back at the end of April this year. I was in the beautiful port city of Agadir with the good lady. Temperatures weren't overly hot. Started off in the upper 20s and then dropped into the low 20s with some pretty strong gusty winds. So Paul James says, don't forget to hit the like button. Yeah, thanks very much for that, Paul. It would certainly be very helpful indeed. So let's crack on then. In terms of the temperature anomalies, this is of the GFS ensemble. What time are we at? 8:15. So yeah, time is for ticking on. I hope you're enjoying today's content. Hope you're enjoying the live stream. A full week of European outlooks coming up Monday to Friday. Then we've got the tropical outlook on Saturday. The live stream again next Sunday night at 7:30, as I've already said. Don't want to continue to repeat myself. But this is the upcoming 5 days of the GFS ensemble. So you can see here that we're starting to see a cooling trend showing up. We've obviously had cool temperatures from the Belgium and the Netherlands all the way to the southeast of the continent. At the end of the day, 6 through 10, we're seeing that change to colder than average. Then the 11 to 15, it's even colder. This is a period between the 20th and the 25th of November. So let me see here real quick. This is the North Atlantic Oscillation seen by the GFS ensemble. So you can see the trend to negative now. Now, the modelling for quite some time was not showing a negative, but I had said all the way back in October that I suspect mid to late November there was a window of opportunity for the NAO to go back negative. And the reason why is the MJO moving into phases 7 and 8. Then count 10 to 14 days after the MJO goes into phases 7 and 8. You then expect to see the response, and that is what we are seeing taking place. I'm very curious to find out exactly where we are going with this cold. How cold is it going to be? Are we going to see much in the way of snow? That is going to be something that we'll look at in the coming days here on the channel. So we still remain with 55 concurrent viewers at the moment. I hope you're enjoying tonight's content. We will slowly but surely start to wind up in a little while or so here. But I want to show you very quickly the prospects in terms of the stratosphere. So let's look away up at 10 millibars within the Arctic stratosphere and see what it is indicating. The GFS was indicating that it was going to cool within the core to about minus 91 Celsius. I tweeted that back on Friday night. But bear with me just a second here and get to the right chart here and see what the latest is showing regarding the GFS model. So this is the current look at 10 millibars. So this is the upper levels of the stratosphere. and we've got a core estimated at around minus 82 Celsius. Now, the average at this time of the year is between minus 62 and minus 64. We're talking about minus 80s in that core. Now, there has been an indication of some warming taking place over the Eurasia side of the pole. Keeping an eye on that figure there. I know it's hard to see, but it is showing the temperatures to drop off quite a little bit. So minus 89 Celsius. This is Wednesday this week at 9 UTC. You can see here the core of the core of the vortex is actually shifted towards the Norwegian Sea side of the pole. The reason why is we're seeing this warming take place over the far east of the hemisphere at the moment. So that's forcing the core of the vortex to then get shifted towards the European side. Now, if that core, by the way, happened to just get shifted just a little bit further down, wouldn't be surprised if we've seen the development of polar stratospheric clouds. That's like those kind of rainbowy looking clouds that you see when you've actually got the core of the polar vortex being pushed out of the source region, which is over the pole itself, down towards our part of the hemisphere. You get those stunning polar stratospheric clouds that develop. I don't know if that's going to take place or not, but certainly you've got a core that is swinging very close to the UK. Continue to play through the loop. You notice here quite a notable warming showing up over the eastern side of Asia. Then you continue to see here that that vortex remains fairly strong. And then you start to see a slight easing of that warming. But you notice here, is it just my imagination, or is that core shrinking slightly here? If we look at the latest ECM in terms of the mean zonal winds within the vortex, so the stronger those winds are around the polar vortex, the stronger the vortex is itself. But the weaker the winds, the more opportunity it has for that cold within the core to then get released south into the middle latitudes at the moment. Now, the ECMWF, basically the thick red line is the average. We go below average in terms of the mean zonal winds over the next several days. Then it goes back above average. Now, it actually goes close to record territory over the next several days here. So we're going above average, below average, back to above average. So there is stuff happening. One of the things that I think takes place is we get that blocking to develop within the troposphere. Remember, the troposphere over the Arctic is at its thinnest. It's actually thickest over the equator. That thin layer of the troposphere over the Arctic region is very significantly affected the lower portion of the stratosphere, because what happens is if you build pressure within the troposphere over the Arctic, you're then lifting that. Use the analogy of it's like mountains building into the lower stratosphere when you build the pressure over the Arctic. When you build the pressure up into the lower stratosphere, you then start to slow down. You create drag in the lower stratosphere. And I think we're seeing that taking place over the next 48 hours or so, the weakening of the stratospheric winds. Then it goes to strong. Then it goes and hovers just slightly above the average line between kind of Sunday the 24th. So that is 2 weeks from tonight. And then it basically stays level, close to the average, all the way out towards the week of Christmas. And, obviously the thick blue line is the ensemble mean. And then all the individual members are these kind of skinny blue lines. So, Rich says polar stratospheric clouds are amazing. They certainly are. In fact, myself, Lindsay, my stepson and his girlfriend, we went to the Panto last December, and I remember observing those polar stratospheric clouds back last December. They really are amazing to look at. And sometimes that can actually be a little bit of a hint of a developing stratospheric warming. Actually, I've noticed that a couple of times before a stratospheric warming occurs, you quite often see them polar stratospheric clouds developing overhead. It might just be my imagination, I'm not sure, but certainly I've noticed that a couple of times prior, say about 10 days before a major SSW develops, you see these polar stratospheric clouds overhead. So, yeah, let me see here. Is there anything else to show? And if there isn't, we'll round things up, I think. So we've discussed quite a lot, I think, with regards to record heat, some very cold conditions, the prospects going forward this weekend. We've got 61 concurrent viewers at the moment here. Always hate to shut a live stream off when you've got the biggest numbers and the biggest audience at one time tuning in. But before you leave today's live chat, please hit that like button, and also if you haven't already done so, hit that subscribe button as well. It would be much appreciated. By the way, let's have a very quick look at the CMCC model in terms of geopotential heights for the month of December, and we'll kind of round up with this. You notice here that this is the 500 millibar level, and we've got some warming showing up at 500 millibars, so positive heights extending over the North Atlantic and towards the south of Greenland. We've got some positive heights over the UK and Ireland, but what would be interesting to see here would be, does those heights build a little bit more over the North Atlantic, and do they come down over the UK and Ireland during the month of December? That'll be interesting to watch, actually. MJO, by the way, is expected to go back into the warmer phases, so I think that is a reasonable indicator that we are going to see something milder and more zonal. We may even see a storm or two developing over the next several weeks as this pattern changes. So we've went from the warm phases, we've had the blockiness, we're about to see, all being well, the cold in response to that phase 7-8 of the MJO, but the MJO is expected to move back into the warm phases, so I expect to see the warming, a milder pattern, a more zonal, a more Atlantic-driven pattern developing once this cold spell hits. We've also got Steve tuning in as well. I don't know if I've actually mentioned Steve already. We've also got City Andy tuning in as well. Good evening to you, Andy. It's nice to see you, and hope you're well. This is the month of January seen by the CMCC model, and it's indicating that we have got some positive heights extending into the western side of the North Atlantic. We've also got some positives over the north of Greenland and neutral heights over the UK and Ireland and Western Europe. That may be an indication of something the model's seeing in terms of possibly colder into January. Let's move on to the month of February here real quick. And again, showing some positive heights. Yeah, it's not extending up into Greenland, so you may still have milder air running over the top of that ridge and into the UK and Ireland. That's another thing that we need to watch, by the way, with this coming cold spell, that that perhaps the high doesn't fully build up into Greenland. Therefore, you tend to get something slightly less cold coming in from a northwesterly direction as opposed to a northerly direction. So yeah, let me round up there. We're pretty much on 50 minutes or so in tonight's stream. So a massive thank you to everybody for taking the time out of their busy weekends and busy lives to tune in. Back again 7:30 p.m. next Sunday, and then the following Sunday it is going to be the all-exciting winter forecast release. What will it be? That is going to be the question. But a massive thank you to everybody for tuning in. Thank you to the moderators for moderating tonight's stream. Also, hope you have a wonderful week coming up, and we shall wait and see what happens with regards to the weather. At least we're getting some sort of change, some more sunshine to be had, but also more changeable and more unsettled also. But be sure to hit that like button and also hit the subscribe button. Share the love with your friends and family as well. It would be much appreciated. And yeah, enjoy the rest of your evening. Bye for now.